Dr. Eliana Rhodes was halfway through a routine evaluation of soil samples from the uncharted planet Xerxes when the ship's emergency klaxon blared through the Artemis. A distress signal had been detected, a rare and potentially dangerous anomaly in the unexplored Gamma sector. Eliana, report to the bridge immediately, Commander Jackson's voice crackled through her comm link. Arriving on the bridge, Eliana joined the crew in analyzing the source of the signal. The ship's scanners revealed a crashed vessel of unknown origin on Xerxes' surface. The craft was unregistered and heavily damaged, but faint life signs emanated from the wreckage. "It's alien," Jackson said, his tone a mixture of excitement and caution. "Life signs are weak. We can't identify the species, but it's something we've never encountered before." Eliana's pulse quickened. As the chief medical officer and xenobiologist, this was her moment, a chance to study an entirely new form of life. But excitement was tempered by urgency. If the occupant was still alive, their time was running out. Minutes later, Eliana and a rescue team boarded a dropship and descended through Xerxes' dense atmosphere. The shuttle shook violently as it passed through turbulent air currents, the planet's surface shrouded in green mist and dense foliage. When they broke through the canopy, the crashed vessel came into view, a sleek, obsidian-colored ship half buried in the jungle. Fires smoldered along its jagged edges, the acrid smoke curling into the sky. "Let's move, people," Eliana shouted as the shuttle touched down. The rescue team fanned out, securing the perimeter while Eliana and two medics approached the wreckage. A massive, jagged hole in the ship's side allowed entry, but the way was treacherous. The smell of burnt metal and alien fluids filled the air as Eliana climbed over the debris. Inside the dimly lit cockpit, they found the pilot, a creature unlike anything Eliana had ever seen. The being was humanoid but taller, with bioluminescent scales that glowed faintly even in unconsciousness. It had 6 limbs, 2 arms, 2 legs, and 2 smaller, wing-like appendages folded awkwardly beneath its body. Despite its elegant form, it was badly injured. One wing was broken, a deep gash ran across its torso, and the shimmering light of its scales was flickering weakly. "Scans show a single life form. This must be it," said Ensign Keller, one of the medics, his voice hushed with awe. Eliana knelt beside the alien, her hands moving with practiced precision as she activated her medical scanner. The device buzzed, its screen flashing red. The being's vitals were weak and its physiology largely unfamiliar, but it was clear it wouldn't survive long without intervention. "Prepare the stretcher," she ordered. "We need to stabilize it immediately." As the team worked to extricate the alien from the wreckage, the being stirred slightly, its large, iridescent eyes fluttering open. It let out a low, resonant sound, somewhere between a hum and a growl, as it struggled to focus on its surroundings. Its gaze locked on Eliana, and for a brief moment, there was a flicker of emotion, fear, perhaps, or curiosity. "You're safe," Eliana said softly, unsure if the alien could understand her, but hoping her tone would convey reassurance. The alien's eyelids drooped, its body going limp again as its energy waned. Back aboard the Artemis, Eliana worked tirelessly in the mid-bay, using every tool and piece of knowledge at her disposal to treat the alien's injuries. It was an intricate puzzle, balancing treatments that worked for its unique biology while avoiding anything that might exacerbate its condition. Hours passed, and finally, the alien's vitals stabilized. Exhausted but relieved, Eliana sat back, gazing at her mysterious patient. Who was this being? Why had they crashed here? And, most importantly, how had they come to possess a form so beautiful and yet so fragile? She didn't know it yet, but this moment, this act of care would draw her into the heart of an interstellar rebellion and set her on a path that would change the course of her life forever. Eliana didn't sleep much after the rescue. The alien, now stabilized in the mid-bay, became her top priority. It wasn't just her duty as a doctor, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She recorded everything: the flicker of the alien's bioluminescent scales, the intricate layering of its wings, and the rhythmic thrum of its unfamiliar vital signs. Every detail was a puzzle piece waiting to be solved. When the alien finally woke, its eyes large, luminous, and flecked with gold fixed on her, Eliana stepped back instinctively, her heart racing. For a moment, it made no sound, but then it spoke, its voice a layered resonance that seemed to echo within itself. Where am I? It spoke in halting universal speech, a language shared between many intelligent species. You're aboard the Terran ship Artemis, Eliana said, her voice gentle. We found you after your ship crashed on Xerxes. You're safe. The alien seemed to relax, though its exhaustion was evident. I am Lyriel, daughter of King Zorath of Aurelia. Eliana's breath caught. The name Zorath wasn't unfamiliar. He was a prominent figure in interstellar politics, known for ruling one of the most advanced and powerful alien empires in the quadrant. If Lyriel was truly his daughter, her presence here wasn't just significant, it was potentially explosive. You're a long way from home, Eliana ventured carefully. What happened? Lyriel hesitated, her luminous eyes dimming slightly. I was running, she admitted. Running from a fate I did not choose. My ship was attacked, damaged beyond repair. I didn't think I'd survive. The weight of Lyriel's words settled heavily in the mid-bay. Eliana could sense the pain behind them, the kind that ran deeper than physical wounds. Over the next few days, as Lyriel recovered under Eliana's care, the two began to talk more openly. Lyriel described the rigid structure of Aurelian society, where tradition reigned supreme and women, no matter their rank, were expected to obey the will of their families. My father, Lyriel said one evening, her voice low and filled with bitterness, arranged a marriage for me. It was meant to end centuries of conflict between our people and the Vorkin clans. A political move, nothing more. But I am not a pawn, Dr. Rhodes. I refuse to spend my life as a symbol. Eliana nodded, her empathy growing with each word. I understand more than you might think, she said. As a woman working in the Terran fleet, I've faced my share of expectations. It's not the same, but I know what it's like to fight for your independence. Their conversations deepened, and with them, Lyriel's trust. One evening, as Eliana examined the intricate bioluminescent patterns on Lyriel's scales, the princess spoke with quiet resolve. You saved my life, Eliana. It is only fair that I offer you something in return. Lyriel motioned toward a small device salvaged from her wrecked ship. It was sleek and metallic, its surface glowing faintly with alien symbols. This is an Aurelian medical tool, Lyriel explained. It uses biogenic energy to heal damaged tissue at the cellular level. With it, you can do what no human doctor has ever dreamed of. Eliana's eyes widened as she took the device in her hands, marveling at its design. This could revolutionize medicine on Earth. Lyriel nodded. But you must be careful. Sharing this knowledge with your people could disrupt the balance of power between our worlds. My father would see such an act as treason. Despite the warning, Eliana couldn't help but feel exhilarated. The tool, along with Lyriel's explanations of its workings, opened doors to medical advancements she had never thought possible. Over the next few days, Lyriel continued to share her knowledge, teaching Eliana about Aurelian anatomy, their regenerative capabilities, and their advanced understanding of genetics. As Lyriel's health improved, so did her resolve to continue her fight for freedom. But she wasn't the only one who had changed. Eliana, too, found herself questioning the boundaries between her duties as a Terran officer and her role as a healer. She had broken rules to save lives before, but this was different. This was personal. One night, as they gazed out at the stars through the mid-bay's viewport, Lyriel turned to Eliana and said, "You've given me more than my life back. You've reminded me of what I'm fighting for. I won't forget it." Neither of them knew it, but their bond and the secrets they now shared would soon draw attention from forces far beyond the Artemis, setting them on a collision course with the might of the Aurelian Empire. The Artemis was a hive of activity when the Aurelian envoy arrived. Lyriel had been recovering in secret, her presence known only to a select few crew members, but that secrecy evaporated when a massive Aurelian battlecruiser appeared on the ship's sensors. The alien vessel, sleek and menacing, eclipsed the Artemis in size and power. Its arrival was no coincidence. It had come for Lyriel. "They found me," Lyriel said quietly, her bioluminescent scales dimming in resignation as she stood beside Eliana on the observation deck. Eliana clenched her fists. "What do they want? To drag you back to an arranged marriage?" "Perhaps," Lyriel said. "Or worse. My father values loyalty above all else. He will see my escape as an act of rebellion, and your involvement as complicity." A message soon came through, translated into universal speech. "This is Commander Trelos of the Aurelian fleet. By order of King Zoreth, we demand the return of Princess Lyriel and request a meeting with your captain." Eliana and Commander Jackson exchanged uneasy glances. There was no choice but to comply. Moments later, an Aurelian envoy arrived on the ship. The delegation was led by a tall figure clad in ornate armor, flanked by guards whose bioluminescent scales shimmered in unison like a coordinated light show. "I am here on behalf of King Zoreth," the envoy announced. "The princess's safety is our paramount concern. His Majesty also wishes to meet the human responsible for her survival." Eliana froze. She hadn't expected this. "You're not obligated to go," Jackson said quietly. "We can negotiate." "No," Eliana interrupted. "I'll go. If this is about Lyriel, I need to be there." The transport to the Aurelian flagship was both intimidating and awe-inspiring. The interior of the ship was unlike anything Eliana had ever seen, its walls alive with glowing veins of energy that pulsed rhythmically, as though the ship itself were a living organism. They brought her to the throne room, a vast chamber dominated by the imposing figure of King Zoreth. The alien king was a sight to behold, taller and broader than any Aurelian Eliana had encountered. His scales glowed with an intense golden hue, a mark of his royal lineage. His eyes, sharp and calculating, bore into her as she entered. "So, this is the Terran medic who saved my daughter," Zoreth said, his voice a deep, resonant hum that filled the room. "Step forward." Eliana did, trying to keep her posture confident despite the weight of his gaze. Beside him stood Lyriel, her head held high but her expression wary. "I thank you," Zoreth said, his tone formal but cold. "You have done a great service to my family by saving Lyriel's life. Yet your actions have also placed us in a precarious position. Do you know the consequences of harboring a fugitive of the Aurelian Empire?" Eliana swallowed hard. "I acted as a doctor, Your Majesty. I saw someone in need of help, and I gave it. I didn't know who she was when I found her." Zoreth's expression remained unreadable. He glanced at Lyriel. "And what of you, my daughter? What do you have to say for yourself?" Lyriel stepped forward, her voice steady and defiant. "I fled because I refused to be used as a tool for your politics. If that makes me a traitor, so be it. But this human has shown me more respect and care than my own family ever has. She is not to blame." The room fell silent. For a moment, it seemed as though Zoreth might lash out, but then he did something unexpected. He laughed. It was a deep, rumbling sound that reverberated through the chamber. "You have your mother's fire, Lyriel," he said. "And this human. She is bold. Perhaps boldness is what we need." Eliana blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" Zoreth rose from his throne, his towering form casting a long shadow. "You have shown exceptional skill and courage, Dr. Rhodes. You saved my daughter when others would have let her die. For that, you have my gratitude. But gratitude alone is not enough." He gestured to one of his advisors, who stepped forward with a device in hand. It was a sleek, crystalline object that shimmered with a faint internal light. "This," Zoreth said, "is a piece of Aurelian medical technology. It is a biogenic field generator capable of regenerating damaged tissue at a cellular level. I am giving it to you, along with permission to study and adapt it for Terran use. Consider it a reward for your actions." Eliana stared at the device, stunned. It was beyond anything humanity had ever developed. I don't know what to say." "Say nothing," Zorath said. "But understand this, my daughter's rebellion is far from over. She has challenged the traditions of our people, and there will be consequences. If you choose to remain involved, you may find yourself drawn into a conflict far greater than you anticipate." Eliana met his gaze, her resolve hardening. "If it means helping Lyriel, I'll do whatever I can." Zorath nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Then may your courage serve you well, human. You will need it." As Eliana left the Aurelian ship with Lyriel by her side, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just been irrevocably altered. The gift she carried wasn't just a piece of technology, it was a symbol of trust, a bridge between two worlds, and a beacon of hope for a future where compassion might triumph over tradition. But she also knew that bridges could be burned and hope could be dangerous. The road ahead would not be easy. The Artemis hummed with quiet activity as it cruised away from the Aurelian battlecruiser. Dr. Eliana Rhodes sat in her private quarters, the biogenic field generator placed carefully on her desk. Its crystalline structure pulsed faintly, as though alive. She couldn't stop staring at it, knowing the transformative potential it held for medicine, not just for Earth, but for countless other species. But the weight of her promise to Lyriel and the warning from King Zorath lingered in her mind. This wasn't just a gift, it was a responsibility. One that could reshape the fragile balance of power between humanity and the Aurelian Empire. Over the following weeks, Eliana immersed herself in studying the device. With Lyriel's guidance, she unlocked its secrets, documenting the principles behind its function. The generator used a form of energy unknown to human science, a blend of biophotonic waves and molecular restructuring that accelerated healing while maintaining cellular integrity. It was revolutionary, a tool that could erase the line between injury and recovery. But with each discovery came ethical dilemmas. How could this technology be integrated into human systems without risking exploitation or misuse? Eliana shared her concerns with Lyriel one evening in the Mid-Bay, where the princess was now fully recovered. "You have a gift, Eliana," Lyriel said, her voice soft but resolute. "But my father was right, sharing it too freely could bring chaos. Your people aren't ready for something like this." "Not yet." Eliana nodded, understanding but frustrated. I can't ignore the potential. This could save millions of lives." "Then start small," Lyriel suggested. "Teach your people to use it responsibly. Build trust between our worlds before you share it widely." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent comm link from the bridge. "Dr. Rhodes, report to the command deck. We've received a distress signal." The distress call came from a small, independent colony near the border of Aurelian space. A viral outbreak had spread rapidly, leaving the colony's medical facilities overwhelmed. The colony's leader begged for assistance, knowing the Artemis carried advanced medical equipment. As the ship adjusted course, Eliana prepared for a challenge. Viral infections were notoriously difficult to manage, especially in remote colonies with limited resources. But now, she had an ace up her sleeve, the biogenic field generator. When the Artemis arrived, the situation was dire. The colony's population was suffering from high fevers, respiratory distress, and rapid cellular degradation. Eliana and her team set up a field hospital, working tirelessly to stabilize the patients. The generator proved invaluable, repairing the cellular damage caused by the virus and accelerating recovery. News of the miraculous recovery spread quickly. The colonists, many of whom had prepared for the worst, were overwhelmed with gratitude. One elderly patient, her voice frail but determined, held Eliana's hand tightly. "You've given us a second chance," she said. "Bless you." But Eliana noticed something troubling. Among the colonists were refugees Aurelians who had fled the strict rule of King Zorith. They were wary of her presence, their fear of their own government palpable. What happened to them? Eliana asked one of the colonists. They came here seeking freedom, the colonist replied. The Empire doesn't take kindly to dissent. Lyriel, who had accompanied Eliana to the colony, overheard the exchange. Her expression darkened. This is what I'm fighting against, she said. My father's rule isn't just harsh, it's oppressive. These people shouldn't have to run to survive. Eliana realized that her work wasn't just about medicine anymore. It was about creating a bridge between worlds, challenging systems that valued power over people. When the Artemis returned to its mission, the crew was greeted with a message from the Aurelian Empire. King Zorith had learned of the colony's recovery and the use of the biogenic field generator. Instead of anger, the king expressed guarded approval. You've proven your worth once again, Dr. Rhodes, Zorith said in a hollow message. But understand this, the path you tread is fraught with danger. Compassion is a powerful force, but it can also ignite rebellion. I hope you are prepared for the consequences. Eliana shared the message with Lyriel, who smiled faintly. He's right, Lyriel said. But rebellion isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes, it's the only way forward. In the weeks that followed, Eliana's actions became a beacon of hope for those on the fringes of Aurelian and human society. She continued her work aboard the Artemis, using the biogenic field generator sparingly but effectively. At the same time, Lyriel began to take on a new role not as a princess bound by tradition, but as a voice for change. Together, they forged an unlikely alliance. Lyriel used her knowledge of Aurelian politics to build a network of allies, while Eliana focused on creating a framework for responsible medical innovation. Their bond deepened, not just as doctor and patient, but as partners in a shared mission. Eliana's reward wasn't just the biogenic field generator. It was the knowledge that she had made a difference both in saving lives and in challenging the status quo. She had stepped into a conflict far greater than herself and emerged as a catalyst for change. The stars stretched endlessly before the Artemis, a reminder of the vast unknown. For Eliana and Lyriel, it was a symbol of possibility, a future where compassion and courage might truly transcend the boundaries of species and empire.